All right, everybody. Hopefully, we got some people settling into the chat here. This is a Green with Envy post game live here on the Bleacher Report app. We appreciate everybody for joining us here. We got a Celtics 113 to 103 victory against the Charlotte Hornets, part of a back-to-back sweep for the Celtics down in Charlotte. We had to talk about. We get some Grant Williams conversation to get into. Peyton Pritchard going off in this game. There's a lot to get in here. So as you guys are getting settled in, drop your comments, drop your questions in the chat. We will get to them. We're Green with Envy. Let's lock in. What up, what up, what up? Welcome in, Bleacher Report fans here on the Bleacher Report app. We are Green with Envy. For those of you that don't know, hopefully by the end of this, you do know. My name is Will Weir, and I'm joined, as always, by my best friend, co-host, and he's the coach of our podcast over here on Green with Envy. It is the one and only Greg Menakis. And Greg, as we're doing this post game, there was only one question that really jumped out to my mind I thought I wanted to ask you to start with. Have you ever worn a denim vest?
I actually think I wore a denim vest for last Halloween, but in real life, no. But Grant Williams didn't pull it off, didn't quite pull it off.
Well, it's funny you say that because that actually was, I forgot that it was the day after Halloween that he wore this denim vest. So at first I just assumed it was, oh, he must have been doing some type of Halloween costume. Nope. Just Grant Williams, just Grant being Grant, little Manny being Manny, Grant being Grant, not really as cool as Manny being Manny. But we'll talk about that here in a minute. But for those of you here joining us on the Bleacher Report app, again, we are the Green with Envy podcast here. My name is Will. We got Greg here rocking along to join us here for a breakdown of the Celtics 113 to 103 victory against the Charlotte Hornets. This was their second straight game in Charlotte. They won on Friday night and then again tonight here with that 113 to 103 score. Greg, the game ended a little bit weird on Friday night, which is why we're clowning on Grant Williams here. He basically tackles Jason Tatum to end the game. So there was a little bit of intrigue going into this game as to what the vibe was going to be, what was going to be the energy to it. We learned going into it, Jaylen Brown, who was probably the most offended out of anybody about Grant Williams' actions against his guy, Jason Tatum. He was out with this one. He has a hip flexor. They did say he's going to get an MRI, so we'll see. We'll keep an eye on that one as far as what that means long term. But no Jaylen Brown in this one, so it was interesting to see what this game was going to feel like. And the Celtics came out. I mean, kind of replayed a little bit of Friday night's game where the Celtics came out and kind of dominated early on. Then eventually the Hornets clawed their way back in, made it a ball game. And in the end, the Celtics will go away with a 10-point victory here. But where do you want to start with talking about this game here?
I mean, we got to start talking about Grant and just how everybody's feeling about Grant. We got a poll live right now. How would you best describe Grant Williams? Because, after the game, when Grant was saying those comments about Tatum and he was just apologetic to some degree, but acting like he didn't actually commit a hard foul.
Or smirking like a buffoon, some may say.
Yeah, Grant was just, all the people that used to talk crap about Grant from other teams, fan bases, when Grant was on the Celtics, we always kind of made excuses for Grant, even though there were times like the Jimmy Butler headbutt and the Donovan Mitchell, I'm gonna make both moments. Like Grant, we always knew he was a little bit goofy, but he was our goof. And now that he's on the Hornets, it's just like, I was thinking, when Al Horford eventually retires, would there be a reunion with Grant Williams sometime in the future? Because he is Jason Tatum's guy. Was Jason Tatum's guy.
Yeah. It's a question mark now.
They did not shake hands after the game. Apparently they texted before the game and Tatum accepted the apology, but seemingly was still pretty upset with Grant, as he should.
I don't think he went over for wings last night. So I think there's a lot of wings in the Williams Grant household today.
Yeah, but I think with Grant, it's one of those things where like you have such a chance to be a prominent role player for a championship organization with the Celtics. It doesn't work out because of the shenanigans that you're pulling every day with the team. You end up getting traded, ends up in Dallas, does the same stuff in Dallas, gets traded from Dallas to Charlotte, And he's from that area, so it's good that he's in his hometown. But you got to ask yourself how long he's actually going to last in the league if his play doesn't actually match up with the antics that he's bringing to the court, because there's no room for anything that he did on the court the last 2 days.
Yeah, and the thing was, I mean, at the end of the game today, you and I were getting ready to come do the stream, and I was like, I want to see what happens here. And Grant, starts getting into it with Derek White a little bit, and Derek was also, vocal as JB was after the game yesterday, was just saying there's no place for for what Grant Williams was doing, right? And so it was a weird place, and it brought a certain energy to this game, which is, you saw it play out at the end where it got chippy. The Hornets wouldn't let this game go, right? Kept fouling, kept trying to, and some of that is, I think, Charles Lee trying to install kind of a culture, right? Because you could tell in these 2 games, to the Hornets' credit, they were down big and they made each of these a game. And the things that really killed them each time were turnovers and just they can't play defense without fouling. Right now, obviously, in this game, they basically played it without a center. They didn't have a true center. Grant Williams started at center because they had a center get hurt last night. Mark Williams has been out, so they were definitely hurting, and that was an area where the Celtics could take advantage. And that's where I think we can start getting into some of this game here, Greg. So, like I said, no centers for the Hornets tonight. And that's where a guy like Luke Cornett had a massive game tonight. He was 6 of 6 from the field, 7 of 7 from the free throw line. He finished with 19 points and 4 rebounds. And the Celtics, in this one, they shot 52 threes. I generally do not feel like the Celtics shoot too many threes, even though they lead the league year after year in 3-point attempts. Tonight, I felt like they shot a few too many threes, and just based on the fact that there wasn't a center, and it felt like they should have been attacking the basket more. But as the coach in our podcast, I wanted to ask you: Did you feel that way, or was the decision process there that it felt right shooting 52 threes tonight?
I mean, I really don't care about how many 3-point shots they take in a game, to be honest with you. Like, the stuff that excites me about this team, like in the first half, one thing that really stands out to me is the amount of like secondary breaks they're getting where they're pushing the ball up ahead, quick pace, getting early advantage basketball with somebody in the post. Like the third play of the game, they had Jason Tatum in the post for an empty side post opportunity against Miles Bridges, where he got his first layup in the game. And when they're pushing the ball with tempo, that's what I like to see out of them. One thing that I really love are those cross court hit ahead passes. So you'll have somebody coming up off a rebound, like Jason Tatum's on the right side of the court, and then he just pushes the ball to the complete opposite side to Derek White coming up the left side, and they get those early transition opportunities. Because the second half, I think what the issue is that the pace just completely slowed down. They're walking the ball up the court pretty much the entire second half. They were really targeting LaMelo Ball. They ended up getting him to foul out for the second game in a row.
Back-to-back nights. Yeah.
Back-to-back nights. And one question I have for you is, how much do you think LaMelo Ball can bench press and squat combined?
Combined, ooh, I would question if he can hit 200 combined. Like, I mean, I texted you. It's rare you see somebody get bullied on both sides of the ball, just hunted both sides of the ball to just be absolutely bullied. And it just seems like he's not. I mean, it doesn't even seem like it. He's not built for it, right? Like he is a string bean. And there's been other guys that you think famously of Kevin Durant not being able. What was it? Kevin Durant could do one rep of 185, I think, when he came out of college or something like that. And he's never really put on too much mass, but Durant has certainly gotten a lot stronger, right? And LaMelo is just not there. Now, will he get there? TBD. Part of that is probably he's always injured. Like that's part of it, is it being able to build that strength, is being able to train consistently. But you could tell in the Celtics game plan, their DNA on both sides was find LaMelo and let's get really physical with him. To his credit, he had 36 points in this game, despite the fact that, he ended up, like you said, he fouled out for the second night in a row here, but he had 6 turnovers again. So there is, with the fouls, with the turnovers, ultimately the Celtics kind of got what they wanted, despite if you were to just take a snapshot of 15 of 26, 6 of 12 from 3, 36 points, you're like, damn, LaMelo had a pretty nice night. Now, I wouldn't say he had a bad night, but it was clearly a position of the Celtics to go right at him. And ultimately the Celtics walk away with 2 wins. So there has to be something that gives here, right? Good stats, but you're 0 for 2 and a lot of it falls on his shoulders.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that was going through my mind throughout the last two games is like, can LaMelo Ball be your franchise point guard? Just because of his limitations on the defensive end. I think offensively, he's so talented. You know, his that 3-point shot, although it's a little goofy. He shoots it like, I mean, he shoots it like the way he shot it when he was a freshman in high school, making
Yeah.
making waves out in Cali. You know, he shoots it from distance. He kind of has awkward form. His feet don't jump at the, like, he's almost shooting off one foot on every single one. But I think he's a hell of an offensive player. It's just, I don't know that if he's gonna not take his body and conditioning seriously, when you juxtapose that with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, who have just worked relentlessly on their bodies. I mean, even somebody like Peyton Pritchard has worked
Yeah.
relentlessly on his body so that he's strong and ready and built for this, built for an 82 game season. You know, they had that stat during the broadcast that he's only had one season where he's played over 51 games, and that was the one season he made an all-star team. And when you just look at his lower half of his body, he just looks so skinny. You know, they were making fun of him throughout the game. Like Drew Carter just kept talking about, like, is he an actually 185 pounds? There's no way, because, you know, he's 6'6", but he looks like, I mean, he looks like he's like 160, man. And with LaMelo, I'm a fan of him. I think he's fun, but if I'm a Hornets fan, I don't know that he's necessarily the guy that I want to like build my culture around.
Mhm.
Hopefully they can figure out a way to get him in better shape and to get him stronger, because he's got all the talent in the world.
Yeah, he's got that really nasty in transition, that like hezzy euro that turns into a floater. Like that's a really nasty move that he gets, that he can pull off. But yeah, LaMelo Ball leaves you, I think, just wanting more like fun, but is it winning? You mentioned Peyton Pritchard. I want to talk a little bit about him because Pritchard was really good in this game. Pritchard's been on fire. I think on Friday night was one of the first. It was, you know, he still had a very high plus minus, but didn't have quite the same scoring output that we've seen him have this year. That's driven this 6-man of the year campaign for Peyton Pritchard. But he got right back on track tonight here. 8 of 15 from the field, 6 of 12 from 3-point range, finished with 22 points, 3 rebounds, and 2 assists in just over, 29 minutes. But this was another game where Pritchard is becoming more and more integral into everything that the Celtics do, especially as you look at what do you imagine if you're trying to dream up a dream scenario for the Celtics box score, you have to start kind of baking in. It means Peyton Pritchard hits 4 or 5 threes. It means Peyton Pritchard has 12 to 15 points in the game, if not more. You know, right now he is in that elite class of 3-point shooters early on in the season. You heard them going through the league leaders in 3-point makes. It was Anthony Edwards, it was Jason Tatum, it was LaMelo Ball, and it was Peyton Pritchard that was in that
Mhm.
conversation. And tonight was a night where he got right back, like I said, 6 of 12 from the 3-point line. And, you know, the shots that he's getting, Greg, it doesn't feel like this is just a hot start. It feels sustainable with the ways in which he's getting these shots and playing off the rest of the Celtics lineup. That, you know, this is going to be something to keep an eye on here going forward, is the Peyton Pritchard development, which we knew he was good. But I think he's even starting to make guys like us who watch this team religiously night in and night out, like, is he even better than we gave him credit for? And we thought we were giving him a hell of a lot of credit.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing with Pritchard, I would like to see the average distance of his 3-point shots, because it seems like he's shooting most of them from like 27 to 30 feet. And I think that's been what's unlocked him this year, is his confidence pulling from that Steph Curry range, right? For
Yeah.
lack of a better term, where he's shooting the ball so deep that teams are starting to have to fly out at him, which is going to open up the mid-range game for him. It's going to open up him getting the ability to keep people in jail, having him on his hip so that he can snake dribbles, throw lob passes to people in the dunker spot. And, you know, I've always compared him to Fred VanVleet. But in the offseason, one thing, as we were thinking, like, internal development for this team is going to be the one way that we can continue to improve, because we didn't really add much to this team in the offseason, right? We ran it back. We got rid of Svi the Chucker, and we got rid of O'Shea Brissett. And we wanted to see who could actually make a leap. And we were just kind of throwing out crazy like ceilings for people. Jordan Walsh calling Andre Iguodala, Peyton Pritchard. You know, one thing I was saying was righty Jalen Brunson. You know what I mean? Like, obviously he's not going to get to that level, but Jalen Brunson 3-4 years ago, nobody thought he would get to this level, right? So
Right.
you got to think although he might never get to a Jalen Brunson level where he's a top 5 MVP candidate, that would be absolutely insane to think about. But Peyton Pritchard could become a 6th man of the year, which is something that I don't think anybody was really thinking could happen. Definitely not coming into
It
last
felt
year.
like you had the greenest of souls if you were
Yes.
bringing up Peyton Pritchard, 6th man of the year. It's like, all right, man, calm down. Like, I like Peyton Pritchard too, but that feels like a stretch. This no longer is that, like, I don't know what the term is for Celtics, but if like Red Sox fans, like a pink hat, right? Like that was like the term
Yeah.
of someone that was just like, oh yeah, of course Willie Mo Pena should be MVP. Like, all right, what are you talking
What do they
about?
call
Like,
it?
you're
Green
not a real
teamers.
fan.
Green teamers.
Green teamers. Okay, yeah, there we go. That's the term I was looking for. Green teamers here that would, kind of put that out there. But it's a very real thing. And Greg, to your point about, the Jalen Brunson comparison, like you said, we're not saying he's making that leap to an MVP level. It's within their own respective tiers. But
Right.
even some of the moves that we've seen Peyton Pritchard make, let's remove the 3-point shooting. He's doing a lot more when he gets into the lane, playing off his pivot foot, whether it be just keeping himself
Very
alive.
Jalen Brunson like.
Exactly. That's kind of the point I'm making here is that plus even when he does get into the lane, he has kind of that hesitation. I'm smaller than you, so I'm gonna make this timing confusing for you, right? Like you're not gonna be able to time this up because I'm gonna do a pitter patter before I get in, or I'm gonna go off the wrong foot. And you saw that on the layup he made today. You saw that on his pivot foot that he kept in the lane. He made one fadeaway jump shot, which was he had made earlier in the week as well. Another one he just kept hanging on to that pivot foot, and I believe he found Keita for a lob at the rim.
Yep.
And so he's finding it's not just the 3-point shot, right? There's other things that Peyton Pritchard is doing. He's always been a bit of a pest on defense. So this is really a big development with Peyton Pritchard. And I think as we look to, no JB tonight, when we have these nights where we don't have one of those top 4, and of course we know Porzingis isn't coming back until December, January timeline, like 22 points from Peyton Pritchard. That's just kind of going to be expected now. It's just going to be a thing. It's not going to be, man, can you believe Peyton Pritchard? That's just nope. That's a nightly. That's the nightly for Peyton Pritchard right there.
Yeah, what I really like about him when he gets into the lane, it seems like there's a couple. I would love to ask Peyton Pritchard this question, like the guys in the league that he's studying and the guys that he's modeling his game after, because there's like a little bit more TJ McConnell in his game this year, really pushing the pace, gnashing on the baseline. There's like that Kyle Lowry playing off of 2 feet, which is also very Jalen Brunson, like where you're an undersized guard. So one of the things that you can do is utilize your body, get into the paint. And when you play off 2 feet, and to your point about that little hesitation that he's doing, when you're kind of hanging in the air and you haven't established your pivot foot, and when you land on 2 feet, you can either shot fake off of that, you could land and fade back, you could land and jump forward, right? So you have all these different options that you can play off of 2 feet. And it seems like he's really learning how to master that opportunity. He had that one great fadeaway, I think in the first half, playing off of 2 feet, where I thought his shot was going to get blocked. And it seems like he's figuring out that distance, playing amongst the trees in the paint. And it's really nice to see, man, because we were so high on Peyton Pritchard as a rookie until he hurt his knee, right? And then when he hurts his knee, he kind of loses all of the momentum and all the spark. He loses his spot in the rotation. And then he doesn't really have a spot in the rotation with Malcolm Brogdon on the team. And, even last year, coming into the season, we didn't know if Peyton Pritchard was going to be able to carve out a role for himself. And now from the beginning of last year to where he is at this point in the season, it's just really good to see, because he got off to such a slow start at the beginning of last year that, we just wanted to see what Peyton Pritchard would bring to the table after another great preseason. And it looks like preseason P is now just a good player. Right. Good player. P.
Good player P. Good player P. That's just what he is now. He's just a player. That's really what Peyton Pritchard's become. Yeah, it's been really impressive to watch him early in this season. Greg, as I comb through some of the stats here of this game tonight, one that I think jumps out easily, and we talked about this already, that with the Hornets as a young team, they really struggle to defend without fouling. In this game, the Celtics win the battle at the free throw line 28-9. And then the Celtics knocked down 25 out of that 28. A lot of that led by Jason Tatum, who was 14 of 17 from the free throw line. This brings me to, I think, a kind of an interesting conversation with Jason Tatum. He talked about after the Indiana game earlier in the week, in which he was 5 of 18 from the 3-point line, did have 37 points in that game, got to the line as well. And he mentioned being, aware that he needs to kind of drive to the basket a little bit more, and that, there was more opportunities. Once again, kind of a similar situation to what happened in Charlotte here, where Indiana was playing without Miles Turner. Isaiah Jackson fouled out of that game, only played, I think, 22 minutes in that game. So they were playing most of it with either Obi Toppin, Jarris Walker, or just no big man really to speak of. And so, over these last couple of games, Jason Tatum, you just look at the stats, it looks really great. The 3-point line, 5 of 18 against Indiana, 3 of 9 on Friday night, 1 of 9 tonight. But gets to the line 17 times, ends up with 29 points, 7 rebounds, and 3 assists. And, even when I find myself questioning some of those 9 3-point attempts, Greg, I have to kind of check myself, because the man, when you look at the shot chart you got pulled up on the screen here, look at all those greens in the lane, and that's not accounting for all of the field goals that he took and was fouled on and went to the line. So it leaves me in a place of, yes, I would like to see a few less step backs. I think some of these threes he could just continue to attack, but it's not as if he's not actually attacking. So I'm kind of left as unsure of how to feel with these emotions towards Jason Tatum.
Yeah, I mean, he was 6 for 6 from inside the arc, 1 for 9 from outside the arc tonight. And I think the issue that I'm having with the 3-point shot is how much he's kind of relying on the same move over and over again, which is that step to his left 3-pointer with the defender swiping at the ball as he's bringing the ball up, as you saw Grant Williams kind of give him a little bit of issues. He airballed 2 shots tonight.
At least 2, yeah.
Yeah, at least 2. And, we're nitpicking, right? Because Jason Tatum has been a front runner for MVP this year. And
yeah, he'd be second
awesome.
Probably right now. If the season just ended today, he'd be second or third at worst.
Right, but I think one of the issues with Tatum is the frequency with which he's shooting those like 2 to 6 dribble 3-point shots. I think this year he's at about 16% of his, which is the most of frequency of his 3-point shots, are between 2 and 6 dribbles, and that's his least efficient shot, right? When he's 1 dribble or less, that's like 1 dribble or less is probably about 25% of his shots from 3, and he's shooting in the high 30s when he's doing that, right? So that's what you want to see out of Jason Tatum. You don't want to see him having to go into his bag and shoot those sidestep threes, because historically it's proven that that is not an efficient shot for him. So you just don't want to see him relying on that shot too often, especially when you have LaMelo Ball on you. Late clock situation when LaMelo fouls him on that 3-point shot, where, he missed it by 7 feet to the left. He probably did get fouled. They showed the replay. It didn't look like there was any contact, but he probably did get hit. Go to the basket. He got the ball with 5 seconds left. He's isolated with LaMelo, plenty of space. LaMelo's in poor defensive position, and he decides to shoot that sidestep 3. Just drive to the basket, man. You're an absolute monster inside. Nobody can handle you. We just want to see a little bit more of that, because when he puts that pressure on the defense, then the weak side low man has to step over and then just skip past to the corner, or it's the dunker spot lob to Cornet.
There's so many options. When you get into your Doctor Strange mode of how many different things can happen, when he goes to the basket, it feels almost infinite, because it's very rare you walk away and you feel like something good almost always happens when Jason Tatum goes to the basket. And so I think totally that the example you just gave are the ones that stick out to me, when he has a tray man at the top, and it's like, I know you can shoot over him. I know you can. I know you could take a dribble and step back and shoot over him, but we can do better. You can do better. Like there just is other options.
He acknowledged it, to your point, right? Like we're nitpicking, but after the Indiana game, he came out and acknowledged that he watched back those threes, and there were a bunch of shots that he wished he had back.
Yeah, exactly. So, and like I said, he shot 18 threes in these 2 games here, 4 of 18. We'll see. Just something I think to monitor here going forward. His percentage was being anchored kind of by that 8 of 11 to start the season against the Knicks. So we're going to see that number kind of taper off a little bit. So we'll have to see where level finds its where water finds its level there. But
there you go.
There we go. I got it there. It took me a second. But looking around here just at some of the other Celtics in this game tonight, Derek White, Drew Holiday in the backcourt, 18 for Derek White, 13 for Drew Holiday. I thought in this game, Derek White had 8 rebounds and 2 assists. Holiday had 5 rebounds and 6 assists. I thought for both of them, so at times up and down a little bit, but I think specifically also with Derek White, just he had some hustle plays in this game that I think really just helped kind of set the tone for the Celtics.
Yeah, he had that one, chase down play where he knocked the ball away, kind of just hitting the ball out. I forget who he got it on, but I think his dad actually tweeted out after that. Did you see that? He said there's one
I did
guy.
not see that. I thought you were going to go with the LaMelo travel call where he chases him down, doesn't get the block, but LaMelo basically throws the ball to himself and gets called for a travel. But it might have been Cody Martin, I feel like. Or yeah, I think it might have been Cody
Okay,
Martin.
yeah, no,
One of the
that play
years
was
after.
great too. I completely
Yeah.
forgot about that, and I don't know which play his dad tweeted it out after, but he said there's only one guy in the league who's making that play, and he's on the Celtics bench. You know, like I love how much Richard White, friend of the pod, loves just seeing his son play basketball. It's so great.
Yeah.
But Derek was awesome. You know, 5 for 17, not the most efficient night for him, but he's continuing to do all the little things. The 2 blocks that he had were great block. You know, the one play where Brandon Miller's attacking him in transition, veer steps into Derek White's body, goes up for the shot, and Derek, his timing on those block shots, it's just unparalleled the way that he can get to those shots. So, you know, shout out to D White, but the guy that I want to talk about, man, and the guy that, you know, we've touched on the pod is Keita, and Keita just, what's his 3 games in a row? He's in the closing lineup.
Yeah, I was a little surprised because he was a little bit shakier in this game at times, right? Like he fouled his first inning, he had 2 fouls within maybe a minute and a half. And so I wasn't sure what was going to happen here. But then I think with about 4.5 left, maybe 5 minutes left, it was him and Tatum, I believe, coming back in at that point. And it was like, man, Joe's feeling really confident in Keita right now. And Keita played solid down the stretch. So he got rewarded. Joe got rewarded for believing in Keita. He was solid down the stretch. Doesn't have a stat line that wows you, but we've talked about this a bunch. You feel his presence. Like that's the underrated aspect of Keita, is feeling his athleticism and presence out there. And if he can stay out of foul trouble, if he can be in the right places defensively on rotations, then he's going to have an impact, especially on teams like Indiana, like Charlotte, that are playing without their true big men and they're just much smaller teams. These are going to be teams where you can feel his impact much greater than probably games against like the Bucks earlier in the week, right? That's probably not the best Keita matchup. Like I think these type of games here where it's fast, it's athletic, there's not necessarily skilled big men that can take advantage of Keita, that's going to be the area for him. And yeah, I thought that was really interesting to see Joe come back and close with him in this one.
Yeah, you know, the biggest thing with Keita that you touched on is the athleticism, because especially against an undersized team like the Hornets, you know, this was the same thing that I used to say about Robert Williams when he was on the team. I thought Rob was the X factor, his athleticism against teams like the Hornets that are athletic, but they're undersized, right? So when you took Robert Williams off the court and it was Al Horford playing the 5 or Daniel Tice playing the 5 back then, we were just a little too small. And even a guy like Miles Bridges could go off and just look like an athletic freak, right? And when you put Rob Williams on the court, it was like, oh no, we've got the most athletic dude on the court now. And like you all look tiny compared to him, even though he wasn't that tall. He was just such an athletic freak. Kate is 7 feet, you know, with a 9-foot wingspan, as Joe Mazzulla says. So like when he's on the court, there's not many guys that can kind of match that sheer physical presence that Keita brings to the court. Speaking of those like crazy comparisons that we were making in the beginning of the season, Jordan Walsh is Andre Iguodala, Peyton Pritchard is Jalen Brunson. What did I say about Neemias Keita, Will? Do you remember?
I don't remember, actually. I'm drawing a blank here. I know we've used the Rob Williams comparison quite a bit. I can't remember who the other comparison is.
I compared him to one DeAndre Ayton.
That's right. I did forget about that. Dominating.
And like there are moments when you see him on the court and you know the play where he covers LaMelo Ball out to half court and then ends up getting the rebound at the rim. Like those plays when dominating was anchoring the defense for the Suns when they made their way to the finals. Like he was
I
really
I love that we're talking about DeAndre Ayton like he's like 37 and this is who he used to be. He's like 24.
Yeah, I wonder how old is Keita, because Keita and they might actually
they honestly might be like basically he might be older if I'm being honest.
Keita's 25. Keita's 25. So check out old Ayton.
I'll check out Ayton while you keep talking here. Yeah.
No, but I mean, like
26.
The physical.
So it's 26.
So yeah, they're the same.
Got a whole year to look up to him.
One's from the Bahamas, one's from Portugal. You know, like like there's not much.
They're literally almost a year apart. Neemias Queta, July 13th, 1999. Ayton, July 23rd, 1998. So almost.
You know what I like about Keita? You know what I like about Keita? I've been watching the Red Sox documentary, The Comeback, on Netflix, which is great. I don't know if have you watched it yet?
I haven't. I got logged out of Netflix last week, and I gotta get back in. So that's on my to-do list.
Whose Netflix are you on?
It's my brother-in-law's. I've just been lazy about getting it back, so we've been watching other streaming services. We just need to text him and get the password. So I'll get back into it. I realized the other day that that's on there now, so it is higher on my to-do list.
But he's got kind of the same aura as David Ortiz, like young David Ortiz. Keita kind of has that same swag to him, like the dunk that he had on Bridges, and he kind of just hung in his face
there. Look at him,
yeah.
I can see that.
And then today when he dunked on Grant Williams, and he was just staring him down like that kind of like irrational confidence that Ortiz had before he became Big Papi, right?
Right, because in 2003, 2004, Papi was just a guy on the Twins before that like had some minor success. Like no one thought anything of him, right? Like Keita's in that stage right now.
Right. Like we're making outlandish comparisons. Obviously, we're not saying he's going to become David Ortiz of basketball, but just like I just like the energy that he brings to the court. Like the same feels as I was watching the comeback documentary that David Ortiz gave me, like young David Ortiz, seeing him in the Twins organization. I was like, you know what? This kind of reminds me of Keita a little bit, man. And Keita's just been really fun to watch this season because just like Jordan Walsh is finally getting his chance after sitting on the bench and playing in Maine all last season. Same thing with Keita. We all wanted to see more of these guys, and Joe really made them cut their teeth in Maine before giving them the opportunity this year. And it's just a lot of fun as a team running back the same team as last year. You wanted something else to keep your attention other than like, man, we have to make it through the whole regular season, the whole playoffs, just to see if we can defend the title. Right. And there's going to be like 10 games this season that are really going to feel like tests and measuring sticks for this team. You want something just to keep you interested on a Saturday night against the Charlotte Hornets, and it's Neemias.
And I think we got all of that tonight, Greg. We got Peyton Pritchard having his 6th Man of the Year campaign. We got Neemias Keita closing minutes, and we got another solid performance from Jordan Walsh, who's I think plus 23 in the 4 games that he's played. So we've got a lot to look forward to here with the Celtics. For this one here, Celtics win 113-103 against the Hornets. Monday night, they'll be back in action against the Atlanta Hawks. For those of you that are joining us here on the Bleacher Report app, number one, appreciate you guys joining us. Saturday night, you guys are basketball sickos, just like we are. Hopefully, your wives and or girlfriends are not mad at you. Like, hopefully, ours are not. I think they're understanding of us being on here. But appreciate you guys joining us for real. And
or your boyfriends and husbands.
Or your boyfriend and husband, whoever it may be, whoever it may be, your friends, your partners, whoever it may be, whoever you're rocking with, we appreciate that you took some time out of your Saturday night, out of your college football schedule to come hang with us here at Green with Envy. And if you guys want to catch more of our content, make sure you're following us at the Twitter handles below here, as well as at Green Envy Pod. You can find us wherever it is that you listen to podcasts, and we do live stream all of our shows onto YouTube. So like, subscribe, come rock with us. We will be back here on Bleacher Report later in the month, following the Wolves game and then following an NBA Cup game against the Chicago Bulls. But Greg, that's going to do it for this one here. Any final thoughts before we send our friends on the Bleacher Report app out of here?
Grant Williams on Perk Island. Peace, bro. You're no longer a Celtic.
Grant Williams is indeed a goofy. We'll catch you guys later. Peace.